This entitled mum uses praise and encouragement to emotionally manipulate those around them to get what they want, but this retail employee sees through her tricks and decides to put a stop to it once and for all. Happy birthday if today's your birthday, and on with the revamped show. I work in a tech-based retail store. It's a flagship in London, and we're hella busy all the time. We have both sales and repairs. I work on the repair side of things. We also have free training sessions in store, so teaching people how to use our products, and have kids hours as well, so it's appealing for the whole family. We often get a lot of EPs leaving their kids and going off shopping, which we absolutely do not allow, as we're not responsible for anyone in those sessions, but they often get a slap on the wrist and realize what they did wrong. But today's EP takes the cake. I don't know all the details, as I didn't deal with her firsthand, but this is what I know from the grapevine / some firsthand account. I am supporting sales for the day, as customers go through sales first before repairs. They usually have questions about repairs that sales can't answer. That's where I come in. I notice a colleague in a really deep conversation with this young kid, can't be older than 7 or 8, and didn't think much of it until an hour later the same kid is talking to another member of staff. He doesn't seem to be with anyone. I don't think anything of it until this morning. We've just opened and lo and behold, this kid is back and talking to more staff. A lot of us recognize him because of the really bright yellow jacket he was wearing, and we get a bit suspicious. One of the senior staff goes over to chat to him to find out what's the deal. It turns out the kid's mum has dropped him off at store and is going out for the day with friends. He tells us she aims to pick him up by 8, as she did yesterday. The issue with this? It's Sunday, and we close at 6. Now this part is blurry, as I was in appointments the whole time and only witnessed the end. One of the managers attempts to get some information from the kid, as we're not liable for him. We need to contact dearest mother and get her butt back here for her kid, but the child doesn't know her number, nor does he have a phone on him. Manager is left no choice but to call the police, that also contact Child Protective Services. Not sure if they had to in cases of abandonment or what, that's just what I was told. Police shows up and talks to the boy. No idea what happened here, but by some miracle, they are able to contact momzilla, and then crap hits the fan. Turns out she was having a lovely time halfway across London, and she's ticked off that someone called the police on her son. She eventually gets to the store screaming like a banshee about how dare we interrupt her day. This is kind of how it went.
Why did you call the police for my son? He was perfectly fine playing with the phones.
Ma'am, this is a retail store. It's private property and not a daycare center. We are not responsible for your child.
He's been here lots of times. No one has ever complained. It's your job to look after customers.
We're here to serve and support, not babysit. What if your child was abducted?
How dare you threaten something like that on my son? I would take you to court for negligence.
I'm pretty sure abandonment is negligence. All this was said in front of a police officer, which was wonderful. They were both escorted outside, and we began the process of banning from the store. No idea what will happen to the woman or her son. Maybe next time, hire a sitter instead of dropping him off with us. Now you gotta hope that there was some serious repercussions for this. A child isn't gonna know better. If the parent just tells them to stay there and play with phones all day, that's just what they're gonna do. They think that's what they're supposed to do. I work in a supermarket, in an area that isn't exactly that nice. There's a lot of theft in the area, and because of our lack of staff, we struggle with it a bit and lose quite a bit of money. So it's Friday night and we're understaffed. There are 3 main areas off the shop floor, and store policy requires us to have at least one person on each of them. The checkouts, the self-checkouts, and the customer service desk. But because we don't get that many people coming for customer service, we can usually get away with having only 2 people managing everything. Not this night though. We have a guy come to the service desk looking for a return. He has 2 or 3 phone charging cables, adding up to about 30 pounds of merchandise. He's deaf, and I wasn't the only one helping him, so I could only glance at what was happening. He claimed that he bought them earlier that day, at a time where neither I or my supervisor were in, and that he wanted to return them. No receipt. That's not that uncommon, and we have to give people the benefit of the doubt. However, we cannot give cash on returns without receipts, so all we can offer them is a gift card with store credit on it. Not good enough apparently. He gets rather annoyed, then suddenly claims he has a receipt on his phone, which seems inconsistent. receipt, but he may have claimed that he bought the item online. I'm honestly not sure. My supervisor looks at it and then realizes something inconsistent. Online receipts come with a reference number, and when she looked this one up, it came up with printer ink cartridges, not the charging cables he had on him. So her response was the same. The receipt wasn't the right one, so she could only offer store credit. The guy doesn't like this, so he complains, and at that point, my supervisor decides to bring one of our managers into it. She comes along and does the same thing, explaining to him that without proof of purchase, we cannot give out any cash. He's insistent that he bought them, so her response is to check security footage to see if he did buy them or not. Now, this went over the course of an hour and a half, and while it went on, my supervisor had to leave and go into the warehouse part of the store, which left me on my own. Store policy dictates that the self-checkouts under no circumstances can be left alone at any time, meaning I was pretty much stuck there, which wouldn't be so bad if I didn't have customers coming and demanding that I open a register for them. We get a lot of old people who either don't know how to use the self-scans or don't want to. Either way, I'm on my own and having to deal with them while this situation is handled, and they're not happy about the fact that I can't do two things at once. Still, I managed to pull through. It was about an hour and a half since the customer arrived, and my supervisor came back to tell them that the footage was being checked, so he'd need to wait a bit longer. He lost his patience, clearly not happy that he was waiting so long for this, to which my supervisor just said, "You should have taken the gift card." Point is, he's tired of waiting, so we take his details and he leaves. My manager and a security staff member come back, and as the title gave away, it turns out that he had just walked into the store, picked the items off the shelf, and gone to the desk to get a return. The guy was trying to get a refund for stuff he hadn't bought. The funniest part is that he could easily have swindled us. He could have walked out with the cables, he could have taken the gift card, but nope, he was adamant on having cash for something he stole. What grated me the most was thanks to him forcing my supervisor to run around and check stuff, I was left on my own to do the work of 2 to 3 people. Still, kudos to my supervisor for realizing what was. Since it was late, some people would have just accepted the online receipt and given him cash. Still, I hope that this huge waste of time taught that guy a lesson. Why is it that thieves only come in 2 varieties? You've either got the real dummies like this, that don't think, I could get caught here, let's just take the easy option and get the gift card. Or heck, just the cables themselves. The other type are the masterminds, that come up with some elaborate scam, swindle people of millions of dollars. You never get the mediocre thief that's just like right in the middle. Many years ago, I worked at a bookstore. This bookstore has a pretty lax return policy. If you had a receipt, we'd take it back. If you didn't have a receipt, as long as it was something we sold, we'd take it back in exchange for store credit. The only thing was, returns without a receipt required a manager's code in the computer, but it was no big deal, and the managers at my store rarely refused a return, unless the book was seriously damaged, or we just didn't carry that title, and they always took back books that still had our bookstore sticker attached. The store I worked at started all new hires off as cashiers for a month or 2, before letting them move up to bookseller, and this happened about a week after I started, so I was still pretty green, but I hadn't run into anything I couldn't handle. Enter the holy prophet of self-esteem. She was nondescript, probably mid-40s, light brown hair, easy smile. She approached my register and pulled a book out of one of our bags. "I need to return this." "Sure thing, do you have a receipt?" "I don't. Is that going to be a problem?" I was flipping the book over and seeing one of our store's stickers. "Not at all. It will have to be for store credit though. That's our policy for returns without a receipt." "Store credit is fine. I shop here all the time." "Cool. I just need to ring the manager real quick to process the return." They were looking miffed. "But you said store credit would be just fine." "Yeah, the computer just needs a manager's code, and I'm just a cashier, so..." "No!" At this point I kind of freeze, not sure what to do. The holy prophet's vehemence is totally out of proportion to needing a manager's code, and she's also looking at me like I just drop-kicked her favorite puppy. "You are not just a cashier. You have so much more worth as a person than this menial job. It's so sad what we've done to your generation, telling you that all you are is what you do for your employer, but you're more than a cashier.
cashier. You're a person. I laughed awkwardly. No ma'am. I meant that I can't process your return on my own because I'm just a cashier and the computer requires... You're not just a cashier. Ma'am, I need to call a manager to... Say you're not just a cashier. I'm not just a cashier? Good. Good. I bet you feel much better. Now can I please return my book? Me, very decidedly not feeling better. Sure, but I need to call my manager to process the return. Their voice was quavering, suddenly on the verge of tears. But you said you weren't just a cashier. I thought you understood. You're more than this job. You have the ability to do this. I believe in you. I really can't. The computer won't let me because it needs a manager's code, and I'm not a manager. I'm a cashier. Stop saying you're a cashier! It was at this point that my manager came to my rescue. I'm not sure if the other cashier paged her, or if she just overheard the commotion, but she calmly walked over and told me to move to the next register so she could finish processing the High Prophet of Self-Esteem's return. The High Prophet spent the entire time my manager was ringing up the return, haranguing her for destroying her employees' sense of self-worth. I don't know if the High Prophet took her store credit to a different location or what, but I never saw her in our store again. People can get so obsessed with their, I don't know what you call it, feel-goodism. They've gone through a self-improvement journey, and now it's their mission to make everyone feel exactly like they do. And the assumption is just that, well, everyone else feels terrible, I feel great about myself, so I shall help these lowly people to raise their self-esteem. Now don't mishear me, I think personal development and raising your own self-esteem is great. It's just that there are some people that think everyone else has low self-esteem, and they think it's their holy mission to try and help every single person they can, like someone who's just a cashier. When really that kind of shows you what she actually thinks of cashiers, doesn't it? I decided to sell a bunch of stuff that doesn't fit me, such as pants, shirts, and shoes. They were pretty cheap for clothing, since I bought them for double the amount I was selling them for, and one of these things were a huge collection of skater and emo things. Just like any other kid around the world, I'm 13 and emo/skater phase. It didn't stick for long, as you can tell, about 2 years, but some of the styles stuck with me, such as my dyed hair and my love for rollerblades. Now, I owned 15 pair of blades, from up to now, I'm 15, and all were pretty girly, until now, since I bought a quite expensive pair of black blades that were just my size. So I went online saying, hey, selling, insert toys and clothes, for cheap, rollerblades, skates, and bikes for sale, and I got quite a following. I decided that since I'd be selling my stuff at the local farmers market with other people, they were selling bracelets and tie-dye shirts, I should bring my pair of rollerblades to skate around in if I wanted to shop. So the day of the market comes, and I'm setting up, pricing everything, and doing pretty well. The clothes, my old bikes, and my old blades were doing well, until an entitled mom, she stopped being entitled in the future luckily, walks up with her 7 to 8 year old son, ended up babysitting him, walks up to the table, and this is how it went. Hello! Sounds pretty sweet and it's pretty cheerful. Hey, if you need any help, just ask. The entitled mom nods and grabs some shoes, shirts, and an old black bike. And I'll take those rollerblades you have on. Sorry ma'am, they aren't for sale. They are mine. But they are black. Black is a boy color. Sorry ma'am, but I bought these myself by making money watching a woman's child. But I can tell you where I got them. No, those are boys' shoes. You're a girl. Girls wear pink and dresses, not what you have on. Might I mention that I was wearing jeans, a t-shirt that read, as long as you don't touch me, we're all good, and a flannel, plus the rollerblades. Once again, I'm sorry, I don't like to wear dresses because I have some self-confidence issues, and I don't wear pink. The woman groans angrily and buys what she picks up, though she doesn't have the money and says she's going to the bank. I nod and hold the stuff in the back where my mum's car is, and wait. The entitled mum comes back, mad, and throws the money at me. I sigh and hand her the stuff, watching her leave. About 3 days later, I get an Instagram message from the entitled mum, asking if I can babysit her kid. I say yes because money, and send her the paper she has to sign. She was iffy at first. I have a lot of rules. They are simply, I only work for a max of 8 hours, the kid has to be in school, must be potty trained, and the general phone number number and allergy list. Like I said, I'm 15 who only knows how to CPR. She said she would pay me more to teach her kid how to ride a bike, so when I get there, she starts to apologize, saying that she didn't mean anything she said or did. I said it was okay, and handed her a pair of my old red skates in her kid's size. She smiled and hugged me. I'm going to say that her kid is my favorite kid to babysit so far. He's easy and is willing to try new things. So if Entitled Mom reads them, thank you for being an entitled mom, because I would never have met a kid like yours. Well, what do you know? There's hope for entitled parents after all. However, this is just anecdotal, not a statistical fact, so you know, the war's not over yet, guys. Remember to keep speaking calmly, and always keep stock images ready to be thrown at a moment's notice.
Submit your story to be read on the channel at voiceyherestories@gmail.com and join our Voicey veteran community at r/VoiceyHere. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. Alright, Voicey veterans, I'll see you in the next one.